It's now time to start adding some of the fun stuff to the big beast. The drawers just went in, they look fantastic. They come up really, really nice, very happy with them. What we have now is some of the electronics. So this is just some of the stuff that we're gonna be fitting, but we've got a 100 amp hour Voltex lithium battery. We've got the Red Arc BCDC 1225D engine bay battery charger. Basically, this is gonna take current from the starter battery and then send charge to our lithium battery. I've got a big compressor. I think that's gonna have to go in the engine bay. We've got some lighting there for the awning, and we've got the GME XRS Connect. Awesome, awesome product right there. So to get all of this installed, we're gonna have to remove the current battery that's in the car. We've had some issues with this. It was already in the car when I bought it. It's got a projector second battery charger right there, and then we've got an AGM battery right here. This is gonna be taken out, and I'm thinking the compressor can go here, and then we can get rid of that, get rid of all the wiring. And then on this side, we really need to go ahead and clean up all of this because it's absolutely disgusting. So we'll clean this up, get rid of this charger, I'm not gonna need it, and see how she looks when it's done. So first thing we're gonna do, clean up the engine bay. So first thing we start doing here is removing the positive terminal and negative terminal from the battery. We'll go ahead and remove some of the brackets as well so we can remove that battery out of the car completely. And now we are removing more cabling and just going through and analyzing and looking at what cabling is what, where it runs, what has been done in the past, and removing that battery charger that was there, I guess, as a backup for when the car wasn't being used. This car is going to be used, so we're definitely going to get rid of that charger, and we're going to go through and just completely clean up this whole area, get it looking really nice. So as we can see with this side, we've got 2 battery terminals, obviously nothing crazy, but there's a whole bunch of stuff coming off the terminals. The terminals are a bit ratty and gross, so what I've decided to do was go with something like this projector fuse battery terminal thing, which basically will replace this terminal. That'll sit on top of the battery. And then on the inside of the cover here, there's a bunch of outputs. We can connect the BCDC charger to it, we can connect the compressor to it, XRS Connect, all that sort of stuff. That can all go direct to this thing here. So that'll replace that nice and clean. I haven't done anything to replace the ground one yet because there's not much on it. I reckon I can get away with just cleaning it up, but we'll see how we go. So that's this side, not done, but prepared. We're gonna go ahead and remove the second battery and all that other stuff from there, see how she looks and go from there. Same thing on this side, removing the battery and just going through and looking at all this junk wiring, removing all the nasty wiring that was there, and there was like a rusted out circuit breaker and all that sort of stuff. So I'm not gonna complain too much about this second battery setup because that is a really nice bracket. And I think we can mount the compressor right there. There's a couple holes that mount this bracket, so we could maybe look at the compressor going through those holes straight into the bracket into the car, see how we go. That's pretty good, happy with that. A couple of circuit breakers here that were attached to the old battery. I'm gonna have to go through and work out what we're gonna do with those and probably just run them off the 100 amp hour. And then there's all of this stuff here and that projector thing which needs to go in the trash. I'm not gonna go too hard on cleaning all this up because we do have a snorkel coming in. All right, we have heaps of space now. She's coming up really nicely. Battery tray here is ready to go for the compressor. I've gotten rid of that other battery charger stuff, which is all there. There was a couple of circuit breakers right here. These are the circuit breakers that were there. They're a little bit old and rusty, so got rid of those. We're gonna replace those with some new ones. The only thing I've kept out of this area is this cable here because it has been run decently with some conduit. And it is, looks like 8 BNS cable. So that's good, we can use that. And still gotta go ahead and clean up that section over there, but this side is coming along nicely. I kinda just wanna get everything mounted up nicely, so compressor, second battery thing, all that stuff, so that I can just grab all of the wiring, air line, that sort of stuff, run it down the front of the car, side of the car I should say. That way I'm not gonna have to go back and forth 100 times. We have got one run. Oh man, I hope this fits. Mate, it's like it was made for it. Okay, compressor is mounted, nice and easy, that's not going anywhere. We did retain all of those rubber pieces that were on the bracket and the compressor itself to stop any rattling and to really dampen the vibration on the compressor itself, so that's done. These cables here, they're gonna go to the second battery. Those original terminals, I've just sanded them back and cleaned them up a bit as much as I can. So we've got the ground cable, original cables, all the accessory stuff I've just disconnected and run it over there. I'll work out what's what and then connect it to there, and I can really clean up some of this stuff because there's just junk everywhere. So I'll get that done and show you how it looks. We also cleaned up in here. Oh yeah, that is exactly what I wanted. We've got new distribution block, power coming out from that side, power going out to that side. It looks so much better than it was before. It's just nice and clean. Coming over to this side, we've got the compressor, nice and mounted in there. I've just left the cables down there for now because they're gonna have to run to the back. And I've just started looking at our Red Arc second battery charger. So I think that's gonna go in the same place where the old one was. And I'm just looking at what connections we need to do. It's pretty simple, guys. Like brown is just gonna run to our second battery to charge it up. Red is gonna go to that battery there, which I've already run a cable, and it's got fuses in there as well. So if we pop this up, everything's fused. And then that cable runs to here. So red to red, and then all the grounds are just gonna go to body ground. But that is pretty much where we're at. I don't know what else I'm gonna add into this video yet, but we've still got a lot to do. I've got to finish the compressor, finish this battery stuff, get that second battery charged up, and we've got the UHF to do. There's a lot. So we'll see what's next, and I'll see you there. And we're back. We're gonna continue with what we were doing yesterday, which is the Red Arc battery charger. So I'll show you that now. There it is there, our Red Arc second battery charger, nice and clean over there. As you can see, we've done a little circuit breaker right there. That's the wires that runs to the back of the car to connect the battery. And then that Red Arc charger there basically takes power from the main battery, which we've done right here. That main battery sends power to the battery charger. The battery charger then sends that power out. So fused here, circuit breaker there, and that's pretty much it. The instructions from this product are really, really good. Like, they explain absolutely everything you need to know. You basically just look at what type of battery you're using, which we're using a lithium battery right here, and then it just tells you what each color does, where to connect it, where to fuse it, where to ground it. All really, really nice. I've done our grounding point right there. Okay, beautiful, clean, conduit, heat shrink, ready to go into a factory bolt or bolt hole. Now with that done, I've just left the cable down there. We're gonna run it to the back, but the fun begins. So I've run into a couple of problems. The first problem is the 100 amp hour lithium battery that I bought is way too big. I don't know where to fit it. And there is one spot that I'm thinking, but there's something else that's gonna go in that spot, which I'll show you right now. So I think we're gonna change to the Volt X Blade battery, and that can go between the back drawers and the rear seat. I'll show you that now, and I'll show you what else can. We also just got this massive 2000 watt inverter. Again, huge, right? What happens is the space between the back of the drawers and the seats when the seats fold down is not a lot. That definitely won't fit. And the batteries we have also won't fit. So I'm gonna take this panel out, and I remember from when I did these, there's a lot of space behind there, and I think that can go there. That's the plan. So I've just disassembled some of the drawers right now. As for the battery, it looks like it would fit easily. Not the case. If you put that against that and try and close this, you can close it down, but when you lift the back section up, it doesn't fit, just hits it. So we need a battery, like just a little bit thinner than that. The Volt X Blade battery is thinner, and that's gonna be the go. So this will be going into a customer's car most likely, but it's brand new. So with all that out of the way, I'm gonna start removing the back section of this car. There has been a lot of time spent on making this very neat and very clean, but we're having fun.
And right now I am attacking the quarter panel. I took out a little side section of the drawers, hoping to sort of sneak it out, you know, next to it, because the drawers were completely mounted. So I took out all of this stuff, and of course I worked out it was just never gonna come out. So we completely took the drawers off. Then we were able to get the panel out and start playing with the inverter.
So I had to pretty much remove most of the drawers again just to get that panel here out. So I'm thinking we can get the inverter in this way, as I've got it orientated now. Holes and mounting, there's holes and mounting hardware there and here on the inverter. This side, there's not much to work with, so I'm just gonna make a bracket, I think. But in the end, we should have something like that. And it looks like that will clear. Awesome. We've got it mounted in here. So on this side, we've got a bolt going through one of the factory bolt holes into the inverter. And on this side, we've got a bracket that I made, which goes from the inverter L over to the body of the car, nice and tight. And then we've got some zero gauge right here. Anybody who's doing something like this on your own, just note that this stuff, this zero gauge, is very expensive. Very, very expensive. So that's going to run down with the factory loom over to where we're going to mount the battery. So that's going to hide over there. And with any luck, that panel will go back on and not give us any grief. All right, guys, this is where we're at. Drawers back in. I haven't completed this because there is more to do with the battery and the wiring. Inverter tucked in there. The little cubby that was here, I've removed. And the reason for that is to gain access to the plugs in there. So both of our AC plugs are here, and then the fuse is there as well, and our switch wire is there as well. So what I can do is make an MDF board to screw into this panel here. That way it is very accessible, otherwise we're never gonna get it. And what we had here was interfering with the inverter as well. Everything else looking pretty much normal. There's a couple of grommets there. I did used to have flush mounted cigarette lighter and USBs. We're not using that anymore, so that's just covered up. And just in here we have all the wiring. So this is gonna connect straight to our battery, which is going here. And you'll see on this side, there are the wings. So what I'm thinking with the wings here is a panel like this. So over there in that corner, we're gonna have a switch panel like that, and it's just gonna be flush mounted. Now that's gonna control all sorts of stuff because I have a whole bunch of switches in there. And that is where we're at. In the end, I'm hoping to have covered all this area, covered here, everything looks clean. Bunch of switches for all the different products that we have, like the compressor, inverter, all that stuff, and then a couple of AC ports as well. It's a lot of work, that's for sure. And there is our BCDC charger. It's nice and pretty. Update, we have now mounted our new battery. This is the new Slimline Voltex battery that we ordered because the other battery that I bought didn't fit. I've got to make a couple of brackets. The brackets, it does come with brackets. They didn't really work with the back of the drawers that we have. So I've just gone ahead and made some alloy brackets that are going to go behind the drawers, come up and over like a little L bracket, and just screw into the top there. And then we'll have some double-sided on it as well, so it won't go anywhere. They are our nice big blue 175 amp Anderson plugs. I basically have one controlling the inverter, because that's the 0 gauge, that's the heavy stuff. And then I've got the top one that takes the input from our BCDC battery charger, and that also gives a couple of outputs, which we have running up behind here and over to there. And then coming over to this side, I have a big 200 amp fuse mounted right there. That is basically on a switch. So once we switch that on, that gives power to our inverter. And the inverter comes with a 2-pin switch wire. So basically what we can do off that is use one of our flush mounted switches to go ahead and switch the inverter on and off. And me, with all my genius thinking, bought every single switch except for inverter. So there's that. So what's left for me to do now is decide where we're going to mount this flush switching panel, which I think is going to be on the wing that covers this area here. Go ahead and wire up our switches. And basically how these are going to work is in and output basically to relays. So these switches won't take a lot of power. So for example, I can't have our compressor running straight off the switch because it's going to be putting 40 amps through the switch and it's just going to fry the switch. It's not going to work. So what we need to do with the switch is have an input from our main power, and then this will have an output which will switch a relay, which will then go to the compressor. And then if you have a look in there, there's already a circuit breaker. So the circuit breaker is basically your fuse. So that same sort of process for every single thing that this switch controls, like the fridge, compressor, etc., lights, all that sort of stuff. As for the inverter, that's got everything built in as it has its own switch. So there's a fuse on the inverter itself, and then there's a fuse right there. So that's all good. That can literally go straight to switch power because all this is doing is telling that to turn on or off with its inbuilt stuff. And then the very last thing is this fuse panel. So basically this is going to take an input from the battery with one of the thicker gauge wires. That'll take an in, and then we can run basically up to 30 amps off of that. Depending on what we're going to run, I'll see what gauge wiring we're going to use from the battery. I've got 8 BNS going to that so far, so that will run a fair few things. And then on the other side is a ground terminal. So you can add ground here, and then you've got a bunch of ground outputs. This is going to help us make everything nice and neat, and I'm thinking that can just go somewhere in there like that. So I'll start getting all this done, and then it'll make more sense as we go. And obviously we want to clean everything up. And just coming back over to the battery, I do think this is really clean, like in terms of that's how we can do it. There's nowhere else that battery will fit. So that's the go. But if we wanted to do something else, I could maybe look at mounting a false wall here or something just to keep it totally out of the way, but we'll see how we go. I'm happy with how that is now for this car, but as we show people and customers and stuff, it might be nicer to show that we can do a false wall to eliminate seeing pretty much all of that. Mounted our switch panel into this board, so that's the first thing that we're using. So to give you an idea, once it's all said and done, that's just going to sit there. You'll have your compressor and all the other bits and pieces. AC plugs will be here connected to the inverter. A couple of other little bits and pieces like these are going in there as well. And then inside, this is what it looks like so far. I've mounted our little fuse box down in there. Okay, so that's a better look at it there. Basically, everything that runs, like these switches, all run off their own fuse that is in there. Fridge is running off one. Each of these switches is running off the 15 amp. All these switches do a flicker relay, so that's no big deal. And then these outputs that are coming out here will plug into a couple of other things that we've got for this board here. And then the other wiring comes up over here. So I've zip tied everything together, put it all in as neat as I can. 2 relays are down there, screwed into the body. So that's gonna sit there. And then this cover is basically gonna cover all of that. And what you see here is everything that's running is fused, inverter's fused. All of these plugs are fused off of our fused box here. And then we've got outputs from the fuse box also fused. Relays all fused, everything's nice and fused, everything's ready to go. All that's left now is finish mounting all the bits and pieces into this panel, put it on, screw it up, and test it. And to give you an idea of how it's going to work, I've just plugged the compressor one in. So that's our air compressor there. I'll go ahead and turn it on. Awesome. All right, we are starting to get somewhere. We've just mounted the battery. Couple of brackets there, just made them up with some alloy just so it doesn't go anywhere. All of this wiring is basically the same. I haven't really changed anything there. All I've done is made this panel here. So same panel that was there, but now we've got all the flush mounted stuff. AC, pretty straightforward. We've just got the AC colors, they're universal. Go ahead and look that up and do it properly. I'm not going to give info on that, but pretty straightforward. And then that goes from there, plugs right into the inverter. The inverter, I did have to go to where we've got the 0 gauge and just add a body ground to it as well, so that this can go in line and it's all perfect, and the inverter itself has a fuse on it. So that's all good to go. So that is going to go there. I'll plug everything in and we'll see how it looks. So this is how the switch panel turned out. Very, very happy with it. Everything's on a switch. So fridge, that pretty much just stays on. So this thing's always nice and cool. Auxiliary battery, I've just got connected to AC. So if we go ahead and plug in our phone, you'll see it starts charging. And then if I just turn that switch off, you'll be able to see the phone has stopped charging. There we go. Same thing, turn it back on, phone will start charging. AUX lights are connected to the lights that we have right here. So if I turn that on, you'll see they're on. You can change the mode to orange, crank it off, and now they're off. Awesome. And then the last one was the compressor. So the compressor has a switch at the front as well. So when that's on and the front switch is on, compressor will start working. 12 volt socket right there. We were using that for the lights on the awning, and USB power right there. And that was pretty much it. Moving over to the back, battery still in place. And then that is just some of the wiring there that powers pretty much everything, including charge to the battery. So this setup wasn't too crazy to get done. That was all completed in December last year. The whole point of that setup there and the awnings and the roof tent and the whole car basically was for us to drive up to Harvey Bay for the Christmas break, which we did. We stayed on Rainbow Beach, which was amazing. Car got all the way up to Harvey Bay and then Rainbow Beach, and then we drove back down, stopped in Sydney, and then back home to Melbourne. Not a hiccup at all in the car. Obviously not a hiccup with the 12 volt because we did it. Sorry. Actually, the 12 volt was so good that we were on Rainbow Beach for 3 days. I did have a little bit of solar hooked up, like a little bit of solar. We were on Rainbow Beach for 3 days. I had a solar blanket hooked up for a little bit, not a lot, but the battery was so good without starting the car and a little bit of solar. We had my fridge running full time. We had the lights on the awning on every night, charging phones and all sorts of stuff. And then one of the other boys that was there, his battery died. So we had 2 batteries. Sorry, yeah, his battery died. So we had 2 fridges running off our battery. And on the 3rd day, the fridge was the thing that told me error 1 or whatever, battery voltage low. So 100 amp hour lithium, 3 days, 2 batteries, multiple lights. So we got back to Melbourne and the car has been great. I've been daily driving it. Everything works, really, really happy with it. Don't know what is next for this build. I think it's kind of done. I'm happy where it is. We've gone from the suspension and the wheels to the steering wheel. That was an awesome upgrade. The head unit and all of the 12 volt, obviously the roof stuff as well. The car is pretty much good to go. If there's anything else, I'll drop another video. Otherwise, thank you all so much for watching. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and we'll catch you in the next one.